An international flavor here on Wide World of Sports today with the Tour de France, and now Gianfranco Rossi of Italy with a dynamite performance to date, Alex Wallow.
The last round was the closest one I thought of the fight so far. Van Horn scored that one punch and a couple of good body punches. Rossi scored more punches. The question is, how do you judge it? Do you give him credit for scoring more punches? Do you give Van Horn credit for that more powerful single punch?
Yeah, but at least as far as Darren Van Horn is concerned, for the first time in the fourth round, he did some damage to Rossi.
Right.
This fight is scheduled for 12. You wonder how long it could go at the pace that we saw through the first 4.
Rossi to me.
Oh, and another good left. Van Horn walked right into it.
Good stiff jab, kept him off balance. Rossi, to me, at this stage, Dan, looks a little bit more tired than Darren, but he's still busier. He's forcing the pace more, even though he may be more tired.
Well, you can see when Rossi moves into the camera that his mouth is hanging open. You can see the exposed mouthpiece of Gianfranco Rossi. Both fighters grabbing and clinching.
Rossi's corner told him between rounds to pay attention throughout the round. And Rossi,
and Darren Van Horn with a big shot, but that's a slip by Rossi that puts him over into the corner.
A slip or a shot put, Rossi said. He said it was thrown.
Tony Perez, the referee, wisely just allowing the fight to continue.
There's the right uppercut in the clinch. And a good counter left inside.
I'd like to alert our stations down the line that at the conclusion of this round, we'll be taking a station break.
Rossi missing badly with the right hand, but Van Horn didn't counter, didn't get his distance, didn't let his hands go, didn't put punches together.
Oh, and a big right from Darren Van Horn, and you saw Rossi, his legs buckle, and now Van Horn senses he's got his man hurt. But Rossi fights back. I guess he's fighting back.
And he's hurt
Rossi has hurt Van Horn.
Dan, this is really shocking. I mean, Darren Van Horn, the thing he had that most featured, even when he couldn't fight in terms of skill, was an iron chin. And he's been hurt by a guy who just is not considered a big puncher. And it hurt a number of times.
ABC's Wide World of Sports will continue after this from our ABC station. Number 6 for the IBF junior middleweight title in round number 5. Van Horn's best round to date.
Still a very, very close round. I thought he won it.
But clearly the best round he'd had so far in the fight after being totally dominated early, and that right semi-uppercut by Rossi got through.
He asked Jesse Reed in his corner in between rounds, who won it? Did I win it? He needs some encouragement right now. He needs some good news. And Jesse Reed said, you won it, but you got to keep going, and you got to be busy. Right now, Dan, I think it's a question of condition. I think Rossi is a little worn down. He has to get a second win. He has to be able to maintain the pace that allowed him to dominate the early rounds.
Well, on the side of Darren Van Horn certainly has to be youth. 11 years younger than Gianfranco Rossi. Is that offset by the quality of opposition that Rossi has faced? I mean, Gianfranco Rossi has been in the ring in clutch situations with people like Lupe Aquino and Lloyd Hunnigan, Donald Curry, Dwayne Thomas. Oh, and a big load-up right by Van Horn. Misses badly.
That time, Rossi did not make Van Horn pay. He had Van Horn a little bit off balance, but he didn't let his hands go. Okay, one punch and grabbing by Rossi. The thing that got him the knockdown was combination punching.
Oh, that good counter right by Rossi. You could see it snap the head of Darren Van Horn.
A rapid punch in the clinch there by Van Horn. No warning from the referee.
Well, that good left didn't appear to have a whole lot on it, but it definitely got in and scored on Van Horn.
Boy, Darren.
Oh, and another, that left-right Van Horn, Alex. Just leaving his head out there to take that beating.
And the nice thing about what Gianfranco is doing is, there you saw both men shake their arms a little bit. Darren raised his, and Gianfranco shook his. That means they're a little bit tired. There you saw that move where Darren scratches his shoulder. We asked him what that's all about. He says, it's easy. I'm scratching an itch.
There's Jesse Reed, the trainer of Darren Van Horn. You don't need me to tell you that he's concerned. And by the way, if you see Van Horn with that right hand of his clutching at his left shoulder, as Alex told you earlier, don't be confused by that. That's just a nervous tick. Not an injury. Did it again. In the first round, Van Horn was grabbing his chin. And that was because of an injury. Well, if this fight goes the distance, we're halfway home. This is the end of round number 6. Punching inside.
And you hear the Italian contingent. Sounds like when Gianfranco won the title in Perugia, his hometown. Rossi, Rossi.
Well, Rossi making his first professional appearance in the United States. And he is fighting valiantly.
This fight was listed, Dan, in some places as a 10-to-1 fight.
And look at Gianfranco Rossi. The flurry puts Van Horn against the ropes and wisely clinching.
Gianfranco won the title when he was a 6-to-1 underdog. Here he's 10-to-1 underdog in some places, as I said, in Las Vegas. He seems to fight best when he's a big underdog.
Look at him muscle Van Horn back into the corner. And again, a good example of Rossi clutching and holding. And then hitting.
Boy, Rossi is consistently getting under the right hand of Darren Van Horn.
Oh, and a good uppercut by Rossi in the clinch. And you can see how that kind of aggravated Van Horn. He tries to come back with one big punch. Well, round 7 finds Gianfranco Rossi still in control. Good right hand by Darren Van Horn here in the 8th round to open things up.
Rossi retreating as much as he has throughout the fight, just backing off.
In between rounds in Darren Van Horn's corner, his trainer Jesse Reed telling him, you're forgetting he has a body. And he said, I'm not going to kid around. You are losing this fight. You are losing this fight. Trying to instill some urgency in their youngster, Darren Van Horn.
Again, the right uppercut by Rossi inside.
Clutch, grab, and punch.
Boy, Darren does not have much snap on those punches. He's throwing them, but the snap is not there.
Good left jab that time by Rossi. See, there's Rossi just letting Van Horn punch the body.
And there's nothing on those punches
Nothing on
right
them at
now.
all, Alex. You're right. Oh, and another right uppercut from Rossi.
Now, those are scoring punches. I don't think Rossi should stand there and take them. He wants to win every round. And you can't get him away on punches like that.
Well, Rossi has to take a round off somewhere, you would think. Oh, and that, I believe, is going to be ruled a slip. That's a slip. Darren Van Horn didn't go down from a punch. And Tony Perez wisely making the correct call.
This is round 8, Dan, and Darren Van Horn has never knocked out an opponent past round 8. The pushing and the lack of snap in his punches right now would indicate that if he gets in a situation, he may be in right now, but if he gets in a situation where he has to knock out Gianfranco Rossi to win, he's never been able to do it before.
Again, Rossi just leaning in and letting Van Horn hit him to the body, and one can only assume he's doing so because he doesn't respect the blow. Well, by Rossi, he ducks expecting a comeback. There isn't one, and you see another left snaps ahead of Van Horn.
Darren's putting out a lot of energy in this round. I think those little flirt.
Oh, and that left hurts Van Horn. You saw the head fly back. Well, again, a reminder that Rossi is known as a light hitter, only 15 KOs in 48 fights. And Van Horn has a stiff chin, and Boy, Van Horn is certainly taking his share of shots to the head. Oh, and there's a left lead, and the right scores again by Rossi. If Van Horn is waiting for Rossi to fade, that may be a mistake. And the bell just sounds, and we're getting started here in the 9th round. This is a championship that belongs to Darren Van Horn, but at this pace, not for much longer. Gianfranco Rossi in the lime green trunks, an impressive outing. Alex told you last round about Darren Van Horn never knocking anyone out beyond this point. Neither is Gianfranco Rossi as we move into the 9th round.
If our scorecards are correct, Dan, he's not going to have to. All he's going to have to do is survive and not lose any 10-8 rounds.
Well, he's doing far more than surviving. He has dominated Darren Van Horn.
I have him winning the last 3 rounds. We're in the 9th round. I have him ahead by 4 points. I'm sorry, 5 points with 4 rounds to go.
That touching of gloves. Rossi started an uppercut on the break and stopped it and made contact with the chin. They're the father of Darren Van Horn, GL, and he has been around long enough to know what's happening.
Now you can see on his face.
No rube there. He's well aware what's going on.
Again, Darren Van Horn scoring to the body. That time with a little bit more zip. And again, Rossi not tying up his arms in the inside, letting him get those punches off.
Right now, Rossi content to do a little clutching and grabbing, and maybe not too bad of a strategy for a 31-year-old man to glide a little bit in the 9th round.
And also trying to score with that right uppercut on the break. There, the right uppercut again.
Recap a little bit for you. It was Rossi in the first round who floored Van Horn right after the fight gets started, and it was no fluke. Van Horn was hurt. Van Horn hung on, fought back, and stayed alive, but I think they're waiting for Rossi to fade, Alex, and it just doesn't seem to be happening. Good uppercut on the break by Rossi.
You know, most of the time when a fighter wins a championship, Dan, he improves in ability because he gets that confidence that comes with being a world champion. I belong in the world-class status. In this case, Darren Van Horn may have become overconfident. He was fighting a fighter who had been knocked down 5 times by Donald Curry when he lost his title, had only 2 wins since then against non-entities. And really, I think it's fair to assume that Darren Van Horn assumed that Gianfranco Rossi was a shot fighter.
Oh, and a good combination. Rossi's strategy here in the 9th is to just hang on, and then on the break of the clinch, throw a barrage. And the last time they broke, he landed 3 or 4 good shots. Again, you see him score in both fighters that time. Good left hand by Rossi appeared to have staggered Van Horn. And here we are at the end of the 9th. The beginning of the 10th round in a fight scheduled for 12. And we have an upset in the making. Gianfranco Rossi